I find something interesting every time I open up this book. He mentioned so many names of so many people that helped him and how they all helped him put the book together. And this is a hard copy too that I got from Keith. Good evening, everyone. You're watching Vintage Motocross Q&A, and I'm your host, Joe Abadi. Thank you, Jordan, Chelsea, and Susie, for helping put the show together. And thank you, the viewers at home who have joined us tonight. Let's get down to the starting line, and I'll tell you about what you're going to see on the show. Starting line is, of course, brought to you by Motion Pro. For all your tools, cables, and controls, be sure to visit Motion Pro online. And the next time, try this segment, we're going to be talking about a special tool available from Motion Pro that'll help you take apart that hub on your 1974 Honda CR250. In the Moto Showcase, Oscar Gayton has sent in a beautiful 1974 Can-Am that he built special as a woods racer. In the Here's the Problem segment, we're going to be talking about, can you build your own seat? Can you buy foam? What can you use to shape it? Sal Scarpa sent in the question, and we're going to be addressing it in just a bit. Oh, what's it worth? 1976 CZ, Falta 250, recently sold on eBay. We'll give you the details on that in just a moment. Don't forget, if you're watching the show, please share it, whether you're on Facebook or you're on YouTube. And if you're on YouTube, don't forget to comment AMSOIL. Comment AMSOIL. Later on, we'll be giving away a special prize on the show. And you want to know the best way to watch the show? It's on YouTube. That's the way to watch it. So be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can listen to all of our Q&A shows, and also you can listen to all of our interview shows. Subscribe, you'll get a little alert just like this, and it tells you when we're live on the show. Now, getting back to how to watch the show. The way the pros are doing it, the way the experts are doing it, is they're watching it on the big screen TV in HD, and they're commenting through their phone while the show is going on. So if you have that, kick back on your couch, put it on your big screen TV on YouTube, and you comment through your phone, and you can enjoy the show that way. A big part of our show is the contributions you make, whether for the Moto Showcase or with your photos and your comments or questions for the Here's the Problem segment. So I want to encourage everyone every week to please send in your questions, your comments. Get us some bikes, 8 to 10 pictures with a brief but informative description. We'd be happy to showcase them here on the show. We give away great prizes for that. So don't be shy. Any questions, any comments, any bikes you might want us to have here on the show, please send them in to me. We look forward to seeing it. As always, I want to thank our sponsors, Motion Pro, Vinco, Full Circle Racing, Preston Petty Products, Racer X Magazine, Sunrise Vapor Blasting, Northwest Mako CZ, and of course, AMSOIL. This week's Next Time Try This segment is brought to you by Vinco. Keep the ride going. You've often heard the expression, the right tool for the right job. Well, today I'm going to tell you about a little tool that's available from Motion Pro,
and it's perfect, and it's the only thing you can really use to remove a bearing retainer cap just like this, which is found on the 1974, 1975 Honda Elsinores. This little part right here is part number 080227. It fits perfectly in this ring right here, and this is used to keep the bearing inside the hub securely on a Honda Elsinore. Let's get a closer look at what I'm talking about exactly. Is this aluminum ring right here. And what Honda has done is made it so it will hold in the bearing into the hub. What they've also done, in their infinite wisdom, was kind of peen this thing in 4 spots. Maybe peen's not the right word, but it looks like they have taken a prick punch here and have locked it in. It's very, very difficult to get out. It is aluminum, and many times people will try and get them out with the improper tool and then wind up cracking them, like you see here. It's very, very difficult to get out. Or, in some cases, they'll get even worse like this. With the proper tool, you can get it out. And that proper tool sits right inside those 4 holes just like that, and you can use a wrench. Now, I want to give you a couple of other tips too while you're doing this. Here's what it looks like with the bearing retainer cap removed. And as you can see, there's dirt, there's grime, grease, things get all caught up in the threads inside that hub. You want to make sure that's perfectly clean before you put that back in. And if you're going to paint your hubs, make sure that's all clean before you do that. Once you get your hub all cleaned out and you have your new bearing cap that looks just like this, comes in a bag, sometimes they're even available from Honda yet. You're going to have your thread all cleaned out, and it's going to look just like this. Nice and clean, ready to be put in. And what you're going to use there before you put that piece in, maybe some brake cleaner, something like this available from AMSOIL, or some lubricant, which is what you're going to want to put on the threads, a little grease maybe, or a little oil, so this thing slips in here. There's the bearing. You can see it's inside there now, and once you got everything all pressed together, this thing should thread in by hand. By hand. There should be no force at all. After you've got your new part, you've got your bearing pressed down in there, it's going to thread in nice and easy. When it gets down to the point of you can't spin it by hand anymore, or you're at the point where you want to get it nice and tight, you can put your tool on there, put a wrench on it, get it nice and tight, and it's not going to come out anymore. So, the right tool for the right job. You're going to wind up with things that look like this if you go to take it out with the wrong tool. If they're in good shape and you use the right tool, it'll come out in one piece, or when you go to replace it, you can put it back in just the way you see it right here. That's my tip this week on this little tool that's available from Motion Pro to get out that bearing retainer cap on your 1974 Honda CR250 rim. I want to thank Vinco for sponsoring this segment. Vinco, keep the ride going.
In the Moto Showcase tonight that is sponsored by Preston Petty, we'll be telling you a little bit about some Preston Petty products in just a moment, but the Moto Showcase is up first, and this week we've got a 1974 Can-Am TNT 250 that was sent in to us from our friend Oscar Gayton. I'll read about it while Jordan goes through the slides. This is my TNT 250 custom-built woods racer. I wanted to complete this build in memory of my friend Bill Sine, who passed away back in February of 2013. Bill and I had bought out a Can-Am collector some years earlier. There was a low-hour TNT motor in that package, and after he passed away, the motor just sat on the shelf until 2019 when I met Michael Greer, who was kind enough to donate a 73 TNT 250 frame to me at Mid-Ohio. My goal was to build a lightweight, dependable, and quick race bike. Here are some of the key points that I've reached with this machine. The 73 TNT frames were only built for the 125s and the 175s. To fit a 250 motor in, I had to cut a window in the front of the engine mount to clear the exhaust header. I completely disassembled the motor. I replaced all the bearing seals and gaskets with some new parts from Vintage Roost. I added a fresh bore and a new Vinco piston kit. I kept the wide ratio TNT gearbox, but replaced the TNT ignition, the TNT rotary valve, and the TNT cylinder head with MX units. I eliminated the auto lube completely and modified it for premix. I replaced the 32mm Bing with a 34mm Mikuni. I removed all the stock hardware. I polished it all, sent it out for plating. I replaced the stock 40-spoke wheels with period-correct 36-spoke YZ125 hubs. Interesting, Oscar. I also laced my own wheels using Buchanan spokes. XL rims, and Vinco supplied the brake pads. For the exhaust, I reworked an up pipe from a 78 Can-Am 250, added a Pro Circuit silencer. Vintage parts for you. Machined a billet set of foot pegs for me, and they were from a KTM foot peg originally. I put many hours of trail riding into it this past winter with no issues. There's one thing I want to share with the viewers about this custom build. I first assembled every part and fastener to the bike to be sure everything fit 100% correct and functionally. I then completely disassembled everything, painted it, plated it, and put it all back together again. Well, Oscar, you did an absolutely fantastic job with a very special bike, and to do it in memory of your good friend, well, that's a very special thing that you've accomplished here. Thank you so much for sending this bike into us, and we will be sending you a nice gift package from Preston Petty Products. Thanks again, Oscar. And as I mentioned, Preston Petty Product, whether it's number plates, lighting, fenders, plastic kids, grips, and more, be sure to visit Preston Petty online, on Facebook, and of course, on Instagram. Thank you, Paul Standard, for all you do for us here at the show. Another great thing about Preston Petty, I went to share this with you a couple of times, and I keep forgetting to put it on the show. Another nice thing I like about their website is they show the dimensions of the fender, both front and rear, of all the different fenders they make, whether it's the MX front or the MX rear or the Mutter, whatever it might be. Now, you can see they got the letters up there, A through G, and it gives you the inches and just how big that fender is. A lot of times people will use replacement fenders from other distributors, other manufacturers. They don't quite look right on the bike. But with the Preston Petty product, you know exactly what you're going to get before you get it. So you're able to pick out exactly what you want. You know the dimensions. Just another reason why Preston Petty Products, and the legend continues. Thanks to Paul Standard. And here's the problem segment tonight. We're going to be taking a look at some questions that some of our viewers sent in. Jordy, give me the first one and we'll see what we can do here. Sal Scarpa III. Sal says, is it possible to make your own seat foam? What tips can you share? Sal, I have seen people make their own seat foam. You can buy high density seat foam. People sell it on eBay. There are warehouses also that stock that kind of foam. Now, what I would recommend is hopefully you have the old foam. Maybe it's deteriorated, maybe it's ripped. Doesn't matter. To have the old foam would be a huge help. Either that or you're going to have difficulty shaping a new one. Also, you should make sure you have a cover. Two things I've learned, I've watched some videos on YouTube, is that a lot of people use an electric carving knife to shape that foam. So you might want to consider checking out some of those videos and get yourself a good turkey carving knife, an electric one. Also, they have a tool called a shaper, and it gently, slowly removes some of that foam, kind of like filing bodywork would be a kind of a good example to explain it to you. But you'll be able to cut that foam down and make it just the shape you want. Also, when you're attaching that foam to your seat pan, you want to use a product called Super 77. This is a great adhesive, perfect for foam when you're attaching it either to a plastic seat base or going back to your steel seat base again. So, yes, you can shape your own seat foam. It's going to take some tools. Some of them are not so special. Some of them might be in your wife's kitchen. But you're going to want to get some shaping tools and get some good glue to hold that thing together. And if you have the old foam, that's going to be a big help to you. And of course, a new seat cover as well. Thanks for the question, Sal. Jerry Cantone, after being out of the vintage MX scene for several years, I recently returned and can't believe powder coating, plating, and finishes on some of these bikes. Overkill, don't you think? This question actually came to me over the phone. Jerry's a longtime friend of mine. I was on the phone with him just yesterday, and he did say this to me. And well, yeah, things have changed a lot. Jerry's been out of the vintage scene for probably 7 or 8 years now. And a lot of guys are going with some rather exotic finishes on some pipes and parts and maybe things that don't need it. But hey, I don't think they're hurting anybody because they're not calling it a restoration. And if you want a nickel plate, a down pipe for a Hodaka or whatever it might be, I don't really see a big problem with that. In fact, I'll tell you, on the vintage 90s bikes, maybe even the late 80s, but the 90s bikes, which are really, really becoming popular, I see a lot of people Cerakoting cases and clutch covers and ignition covers, and I think it looks kind of trick. Maybe not so much on the older bikes, on the pre-82 bikes, maybe not so much. But you're seeing a lot of this, and I think a lot of it has become people wanting instant gratification. You know, the internet and the way we live today, we press buttons and things are right in front of our faces. I think a lot of it has come down to people wanting the best they can get with not really wanting to do a heck of a lot to get that result. And that's why you're seeing maybe people sending out to have things Cerakoted or nickel plated with certain things done. I think it's fine, but sometimes I think in a case like this, things get a little too far, where you got white spokes and blue hubs and blue kickstarters and brake pedals. It gets a little out of hand at times, but that's the world we live in, and I guess we'll just have to adjust to it. Thanks for the question, Jerry. Mason Mamola, how often should a helmet be replaced? I never crash. Take that into consideration. No, none of us ever do, Mason. According to what I've read, a helmet should be replaced every 5 years. And if you have taken a bad fall, and even though you may not have suffered a head injury, the helmet has taken a good shot, you might want to replace that helmet. And it isn't so much that the shell of the helmet may have been compromised, but as time goes on, moisture, water, things start to break down the interior of the helmet, the styrofoam, and the things that are made to keep a helmet safe. I've read that it should be replaced every 5 years. And even some of the clubs, I know Armour was doing it for a while. I don't know how exactly they check on it, but they make sure a lot of their competitors have helmets that are more recent, that are less than 5 years old. So regardless of whether you crashed on your helmet or not, it just depends on where it's been sitting. Maybe a lot of guys take a few years off. They bought a new helmet, but now they haven't used it for 4 or 5 years. It might be a good idea to go out and get a new helmet again. I think that was a really, really good question, and I don't think it's discussed anywhere near often enough. Mason, thank you for the question. We're going to take a commercial break. Don't forget to keep sharing the show, whether you're on Facebook or you're on YouTube. If you're on YouTube, comment AMSOIL. We're going to have a random share giveaway winner in just a little while. Let's take a commercial break. We'll be right back.
Hello everyone, Brandon here with Motion Pro, bringing you the Trick New Pro Plug sockets from Motion Pro. The Pro Plug sockets are a very clever design. They're heavy tool steel construction for durability. They feature a slim skeleton design for hard to reach heads and cylinders, and they feature a really innovative retention system. This retention system is mechanical and it's not a rubber grommet. So you're never going to battle between the spark plug and the socket. So the socket is always going to be easy and firm to attach to the spark plug, but also it's going to be easy to remove. So you're not going to have to go fishing in those deep well heads to get that socket out. Now the socket features a couple of different drive components. You can use a 17 mil open end wrench, a 3/8 drive socket, as well as a through axle, right? So you've got a couple of different ways you can use this product. Now we have these available in 3 different sizes, and those 3 different sizes are 16, 18, and 21, available to fit most model motorcycles, V-twin as well as metric. Retail starts at $21.99 up to $22.99, available from your favorite retailer nationwide.
Another great tool from Motion Pro. In the What's It Worth segment tonight, it is brought to you by Full Circle Racing. We'll be telling you a little bit more about Full Circle in just a moment. But in tonight's What's It Worth segment, we take a look at a 1976 Falta 250. It recently sold on eBay, and while I go through the finer details of this bike, if you'd like to take a guess, put in the comment sections what you think this bike sold for, that's always fun to do. And we'll tell you how much it actually sold for in just a moment. 76 Falta replica 250 GP. It has new XL rims, Buchanan stainless steel spokes, powder-coated hubs, NOS bar tires and tubes, powder-coated frame and swing arm, and new swing arm bushings and shaft. It's got Marzocchi forks on it for a CZ. Fox air shocks, aluminum handlebars with Marzocchi levers, a gasher throttle. All the cables are new. It's got aluminum number plate clamps, custom aluminum gas tank, looks like a Lanny J tank on that bike, if I do say so myself. Plastic seat base with a GP foam and a new seat cover. NOS Preston Petty mutter fenders with new plastic inner fender. Brand new exhaust pipe. The motor is rebuilt at C&R Performance. It's got a new top end, the bottom end, including a new rod. It's got a new Mikuni carburetor. It's jetted for a CZ. Billet chain guide. It's got a brand new chain billet brake, backing plate, NOS foot pegs, NOS stock mounts, shock mounts, handlebar pinch bolts, chain guide, and bolts. It also has had the head with the porcupine treatment. All stainless steel bolts and nuts have been used in this bike. It's also got new brake shoes, and that's it. Bike seems to run flawlessly according to the seller, and it recently sold on eBay. Care to take a guess how much? $3,000? $35,000? $4,000. The bike sold for $5,000. $5,000. And I thought that was a pretty good deal for this bike. Looking at the parts and the rebuilt engine, the Lanny J gas tank, the pipe, the rims, there's got to be close to $5,000 invested in just parts and outside services, I would think. The Marzocchi forks are a plus. It would be a post-vintage bike, but I think it would be a competitive one. I'm not thrilled with the blue frame, but then again, that's not my bike. $5,000, 76 CZ fork replica. Full Circle Racing Limited. Tom McAllister has done a great job for us as a sponsor here on the show, and he continues to offer this special of powder coating your hubs. He'll clean them, disassemble them, blast them, mask them, and powder coat them for just $50 a hub. For $10 more, he'll do the backing plate too. And if you want a custom color other than a gloss or satin black, he will do that for a one-time charge of just $20. So this is a great way to get your set of rims rebuilt and ready to go. You can send them your hubs, get them all powder coated, have Tom replace the spokes and nipples, maybe give you some hoops, get everything laced and trued professionally. So whether it's for your modern or your vintage bike, be sure to check out Full Circle Racing Limited. We were talking about the price of that CZ just a little bit ago, and a good place to go and check out the value of your bike or a bike you may be wanting to buy is the Vintage Motocross Buyers and Sellers Price Guide page. It's been on Facebook for about 6 years. There are over 16,000 members there, and they do nothing but discuss the value of bikes. Nothing's for sale. There are no want ads there. There are a lot of results from auctions. There are going to be probably results coming up from the Mika motorcycle auction, which will be at the end of May, end of March, beginning of April. No, end of April, beginning of May. So you can get some results from that auction as well. So if you have a bike you want to sell and you're wondering how much it's worth, post it on the Vintage Motocross Buyers and Sellers Price Guide page. Also, if you're purchasing a bike and you think you want to know more about the value, post it there. You'll get some friendly advice from some really well-educated guys. In the product spotlight tonight, Vidco, keep the ride going. We've got a great item, something a little bit different for you OSA guys. These are fenders for the Mick Andrews replica and the Explorers, 1971 through 1978. They are $239.95 a set. And here's what everyone has been waiting for. It's an aluminum front and rear fender for both of those models that I just explained to you. These are exact down to the rivets, including mounting brackets and rubber mudguard on the front fender. The rear includes the flexible aluminum tabs for guiding the electrics as well. Photos are the actual fenders. They come two to a package. You cannot buy them individually. $239.95, available from Vidco. Keep the ride going. Keep that OSA looking sharp too. Northwest Mako CZ. Alan Brown remaking a lot of products for the Makos and the CZs. They're all made in America to above what the original standards were. He's doing a fantastic job of keeping those Makos and CZs on the trail. This week's special is a shift shaft for your big clutch 4-speed 73 through 75s, the small clutch bike, the Magnums, Megas, and the Alphas, just $109. This is a special price. I think these go for more like $120. So go over to Northwest Mako CZ, check out their website, get yourself one of these Kickstarter shafts. And this is a great item to buy, even if you're not in need of it right now. Okay? It's one of those things that when it gives out, well, there's not much hope for it. Get one for $109, the special introductory price right now. Keep it in your toolbox, keep it in your shop when you need it. It's going to come in handy. Thank you, Alan Brown, for all you do for us here at Vintage Motocross Q&A. Northwest Mako CZ. Mark Forrester, another sponsor of ours, got a great little company called Sunrise Vapor Blasting, and right now it has got to be the best way I've ever seen to clean carburetors and other little parts for your vintage bike or your modern bike for that matter. He puts it in that tank, it comes out as good as new, opens up the pores of that aluminum but doesn't change the metal at all. And not only does it do a great job on the aluminum, it absolutely makes the brass fittings and the other parts of the carburetor look exceptional too. They look like brand new. So this is a great way to get your carburetors clean. Be sure to contact Mark Forrester at Sunrise Vapor Blasting. He is on Facebook. He's in Northern California, does mail orders every day. You get it in, you'll get it back as quickly as possible. A lot of people are raving about Mark Forrester and Sunrise Vapor Blasting. AMSOIL. Pushing synthetic oil since 1973. It's been running a special the past 3 weeks now. Just $46.99, and it's free shipping included. This package retails for $75. And the great thing is you'll get everything in this package, but you also become a preferred customer where you get 25% off across the board for the next 6 months. All you need to do is PayPal AMSOIL Plus at AOL.com. Be sure to include your name, address, email, and phone number, and Russell Waters is going to get out you a package just like this. And it's got some really great features in there too, not only just for your motorcycles or for your cars, but for you gun enthusiasts. It's got a firearm lubricant, which I've heard some really, really good things about, a funnel, and all these other products that I've been using in the shop now for almost a year, and they're all really, really great. I want to thank Russell Waters and AMSOIL for being a sponsor of the show. We are going to take a commercial break. Don't forget to keep sharing the show on Facebook and on YouTube. Comment AMSOIL. When we get back from this commercial, we will have tonight's random share giveaway winner. Take a break. We'll be right back.
Classic and vintage dirt bikes are more than a hobby. It's not just about the ride. It's about the work that goes in. The work that keeps you connected to the ride. It's about bringing the bike back to life and doing it with your own hands. It's about the adrenaline and adventure. And when it comes to putting all the pieces together, only Vinco knows the bikes and parts the way you do. Vinco. Keep the ride going.
Welcome back. And we are ready to do tonight's AMSOIL random share giveaway. Susie was just in here and she brought me a little ticket here. Greg Pete Sr. Greg Pete Sr. If you're still watching, be sure to get us your mailing address and we'll get you something else special from AMSOIL. Greg Pete Sr. is tonight's random share giveaway winner. This Week in Motocross History is brought to you by Racer X Magazine, one of the finest publications out there. They're available online and on the newsstand. I love Racer X because it gives me the latest of what's going on in modern racing, supercross, motocross, but they're also vintage enthusiasts over there too. Davey Coombs, Scott Wallenberg, a great bunch of guys. So there's always some real cool vintage stuff in here as well. It's about time to get yourself a subscription to Racer X. This Week in Motocross History was 1981, Howerton and Barnett. Team Suzuki's Ken Howerton won the first outdoor battle in 1981 with Yamaha's Bob Hanna as the two went at it at the Hangtown Classic. The opening round for 1981 AMA Pro Motocross Championship. Hanna was coming back from a broken leg where he suffered in 1979, costing him an entire season, and he was at the peak of his career when that happened. Yamaha rider Gary Semix finished third that day. In the 125 class, Suzuki-mounted Mark Barnett opened his first title defense with a win over Honda's Jim Gibson and Kawasaki's Jeff Ward. That was in 1981. A couple of great Suzuki guys there. In 1976, the Hannah Smith War begins. Bob Hurricane Hanna shocked the motocross world and announced his arrival as a top contender by blitzing the thought-to-be unbeatable Marty Smith at the Hangtown Classic in Plymouth, California, the opening round of the 76th AMA 125 Pro Motocross Championship. Hanna, in his first national start as a Yamaha rider, came from behind in Moto 1 to run Smith down. Smith, the two-time 125 Pro Motocross champion, had a bit of a tough day there, and he struggled to keep his factory Honda going. Hanna rather, would go on to become the AMA 125 Pro Motocross champion and became a dominant force in the 125s and, of course, some other 250 classes throughout his career. In 1980, back in the U.S., Team Suzuki's Brian Myerscough won the Saddleback 125 National over his teammate Mark Barnett, Yamaha's Brock Lover, and Team Kawasaki's Jeff Ward, all three future AMA Hall of Famers. Another Suzuki rider, Ken Howerton, bettered Yamaha's Marty Tripes and Mike Bell that day in the 250 class. Brian Myerscough, one of my favorite riders from back in the day, and one of these days I'm going to catch up with him and hopefully have him as a guest on Vintage Motocross Radio. Let's get on to the announcements. Jordan, what do we have coming up first tonight? Vintage Motocross Radio. I've done over 40 live interviews at Vintage Motocross Radio. All of them are available all the time. You can listen to it here on Facebook. And as I mentioned earlier, it is on a lot of podcasts as well. This past week, my guest was the Flying Hawaiian, John DeSoto. Let's get a little bit of a listen to what John had today.
John, I read that when you first came to Southern California, that you actually spent a little time living in an abandoned car outside of a Montesa shop.
Oh yeah, it was an abandoned car fair.
How long were you in there? Tell us about the shop and how things got better for you after that.
Well, see, that's the whole thing. That when I got out, Jack Simmons had a motorcycle shop too, and he loaned me a bike. So I went down to Encinitas, which is the first track I raced at, Encinitas, and I raced at Encinitas. And when I went up to sign up there, and the guy said, "It's okay, you got to be this. You got, I don't know if it was CMC or AMA." So I had to sign a card. So he says, "Okay, what division are you?" I said, "Oh, I'm an expert." "Where are you from?" "I'm from Hawaii." "You're not an expert. They don't have experts from Hawaii." "Yeah, do this." So they made me an amateur. And I went, What is this? So I said, "Okay, So it was like about, took us, it's like about a mile and a half. One lap would be, But it was unreal because after an hour, the race was an hour, I had lapped everybody except the second place guy. So when I came in, the guys looking at me and goes, "Excuse me, how come you said you was an amateur?" I said, "No, you guys told me I was an amateur. I told you I was an expert in Hawaii." And you guys keep looking at my face like, "Yeah, right. You got experts riding from Hawaii. Hello." Then when they paddle canoes and surf over there, it's like, "Hello." So I said, "Well, heck, that's what I am." So, but that's when Cycle News gave me the name, the Flying Hawaiian.
Great interview with John DeSoto. Also talked about a physical altercation with Parnelli Jones after some big desert race. He had a lot of other great stories too, so be sure to catch the DeSoto interview if you haven't. In the next month, my guest will be Sonny DeFeo. Sonny was one of the original pioneers going back when Trans Am's first got started. His dad, Sal DeFeo Sr., started a motorcycle shop out in Port Jefferson, Long Island called Ghost. It was a very, very famous bike shop. Went for decades there. And sponsored a lot of guys too, including Barry Higgins and so many more. We'll talk to Sonny about his days at the old shop, riding CZs, and of course, his days on Makos as well. So stay tuned to the Vintage Motocross radio page, and you'll find out when we'll be doing the interview with Sonny DeFeo. And don't forget, you can listen to it on Breaker, Castbox, Pocket Cast, and all your other favorite podcasts. You don't have to just listen to it on Facebook or YouTube. Take us with you wherever you go. Vintage Motocross Radio. The Boise NRM is coming up, and that's, won't be too long, about 3 weeks away, April 17th and 18th in Boise. They got a lot of great vintage classes out there, a wonderful, very vintage-friendly track. I know Scott Wallenberg is out there every year, and a lot of other guys too, including Brock Glover, Brad Lackey, and a lot of other guys go out there and have a really great time out in Boise. So if you have some free time and you want to get out there and race at a really great track with a wonderful club, go out to the Boise NRM. That's April 17th and 18th. Old School Scrambles. They've got an event coming up. In fact, it's this weekend. They've got a TT practice day on the 27th, and they've also got their Old School Scrambles on the 28th, which is the next day. So get down to Glen Helen. They race on the truck track, I believe. Tammy and Ralph Greenhill put on an excellent event down there several times a year. And the great news is that all kids ride free all the time. Compliments of Rod Lake Racing. So that's this weekend. Old School Scrambles, TT practice on Saturday, kids ride free. Thank you, Tammy and Ralph Greenhill, for all you do. Our dear friend, Mark Hildebrand, you know him from Nightmare Racing. He has been battling COVID for the past 3 weeks now. We've been giving updates on my personal page every day. I've been in contact with his beautiful daughter, Ashlyn, who also got through COVID, and her mother. They're doing well. Mark, on the other hand, is having a hell of a battle ahead of him. He was doing better this week. He took a little bit of a step back with some things that are going on. I don't want to get into full detail right here, but he is in a fight for his life. And I want us all to keep Mark Hildebrand in our prayers. And if you get a moment, send Ashlyn a message or send Mark a message through his Facebook Messenger. If some people out there have ordered parts from Nightmare Racing, just be patient. When Mark straightens out from this, and I'm sure he will, I'm sure he'll be back on the scene and everything will be back the way it was. Mark Hildebrand, you're in our thoughts and prayers, brother. Hang in there. Todd the Hoop. 1988 125cc Supercross East champion, took a spill at Daytona a few weeks ago and suffered a pretty serious spinal injury. He's presently in the hospital, or he may be home right now, or he's in a hospital back in Michigan. Jeff Stanton and a lot of other guys did a lot to pull together to get Todd the Hoop home from Daytona. Presently, they're taking donations at Road to Recovery for his spinal injury. I don't really know the details of it, but I know it's pretty serious. So if you're friends with Todd the Hoop on Facebook, he seems to be active and he seems to be in good spirits, posting some things on social media, but I'm sure he'd love to hear from you. And I'm sure if you could make a donation to the Road to Recovery, Todd would appreciate it very, very much. Hang in there, Todd. We're all pulling for you. There's also a race coming up, a benefit race for Todd, and that happens on March 27th. That is in Battle Creek, Michigan. So if you go on Facebook, you can look that up, the Battle Creek Motorcycle Club. I'm sure they have a website too. So they're putting that benefit ride together for Todd the Hoop. Let's all get behind that if we can do that as well. Get well, Todd. Vintage Motocross t-shirts and hoodies are still available in both gray and white for just $19.99. You can get a t-shirt. Beautiful logo across the front, my autograph across the back. And if you follow the link in the description of the show, you can find out how much the hoodies are as well. Get them while they last. I don't know how much longer this is going to go on. So get yourself a Vintage Motocross Q&A t-shirt or a hoodie. Send us a picture of yourself wearing it. We'd be happy to put it here on the show. Vintage Motocross Q&A sponsorship opportunities are still available. Please get a hold of me, inbox me, and I will get you a sponsorship proposal package. You'll get the same benefits that everybody's getting who's on the board behind me. A lot of these sponsors have been up here for close to a year, some over a year now. Why are they still up there? Because they're seeing results. We're hitting over 20,000 people a week, sometimes 100,000 people a month. We're doing that through Facebook. We're doing it through YouTube. And on Facebook, I am spreading the word through my other Facebook pages as well, whether it's the Vintage Motocross Buyers and Sellers Price Guide page, Joe Body Cycle Therapy, the Motorcycle Gas Tank page. I'm always spreading the word about Motion Pro, Vinco, AMSOIL, and all of our other sponsors. So if you have a business and you presently have a page on Facebook and you'd like to get some additional exposure through Facebook and also on YouTube, please get a hold of me. I'll get you a sponsorship proposal package. We'll put something together special for you. That about wraps it up for this edition of Vintage Motocross Q&A. I want to thank Jordan and Chelsea, Susie for helping me put the show together. You people at home who tune in every week, keep those questions coming in. Keep the motorcycles coming in for the Motor Showcase. Greg Pete Sr., get me your address. I'll get you a nice product from Preston Petty. And I want to wish you all a great evening. Best wishes to Todd the Hoop and, of course, Mark Hildebrand. Do what you can to stay in contact with those guys. And what's that? Gino? Gino! Gino! Still doesn't take his cues very. Gino! Come on, Bougie! Come on, boy! Come on! Oh, you can. Gino didn't want to come in. He had to come up.
I don't know, why didn't he want to come in?
Because Clay is there.
Oh.